Today we're going to be talking about the 5 marijuana stocks that you should buy in March 2019. I'm also going to be including 3 popular stocks that I don't think you should be buying at the end of this video. As always, the only thing I ask of you is that you hit that beautiful like button and also subscribe for more short, sweet, and simplified videos on how to trade the stock market. While I'm very confident that every stock on this list will provide that price action that you need to trade off of, it's very important that you have both an entry and exit point plan. I've discussed many strategies in my videos, so if you're having trouble understanding what I mean by that, go ahead and look through our trading playlist, as well as some of the other marijuana stock videos to give you an idea. Okay, so we're starting with Enzies. Enzies Therapeutics, aka the wannabe rappers and jeering allegation club, is back, ladies and gentlemen. You may know them for their hit video where their sales team stars in an in-house rap, where they sing about the virtues, I'm not kidding, the virtues of persuading doctors to prescribe high doses of their liquid opioid. What a great ad campaign. Anyways, the reason this is relevant is because the opioid that they are pushing, fentanyl, is also the big revenue driver for the company. However, sales peaked in 2015 and have been quickly dissipated ever since. So they continue to try new strategies to push this drug, but have been met with limited success. So they've been looking at cannabis to be sort of their golden goose. In fact, the only other major product besides fentanyl that Enzies has is their oral solution, which has cannabis or cannabis oil in it. Now, this isn't new news, but the reason it's significant is because of the simple fact that now we know that their push into marijuana not only ended their downtrend, but also caused an upward reversal. So here we have a company with decreasing sales of their main product, bad PR everywhere, as well as crazy allegations of bribes to doctors to push that very same product. So combine that with the fact that the price action continues to run up day by day, and you have yourself an overvalued but increasingly powerful momentum play. So the reason this is such a powerful play is not only because of this massive amount of upward potential relative to downward potential, or even that this company has the spectacular ability to rebrand every problem they have by simply implementing marijuana drugs into their lineup and pumping it through PR, but because they are going to be going through several phase trials, and we love phase trials at ZipTrader. It means massive price action in one direction or the other at the time of release. So I went ahead and looked for the phase dates, and look what we have here, both in March 2019. So the combination of these factors makes me inclined to take a position if we continue to see some price strength. Ideally, I'd like to see a bit of a pushback away from overbought before taking a position, since if we are wrong, it'll help mitigate the exposure. But again, we still need to see that price strength, and the way that we see the price strength is by seeing some real estate above the SMA line, or at least trending towards the SMA line. Okay, the next stock is a favorite of many, and that is Aora Cannabis. I recommended this in the last 2 watch list videos, and it has continued running up and continues to be a good position for both trading and longer term positions. At the same time, I don't love including the stock on this list because everyone is obsessed with it and it makes me feel like a sheep. Bah! So the thing I like about this is because it has so many people watching it, it tends to be very reactive to any sort of fundamental news or coverage. In fact, if you go and search Aora Cannabis in YouTube or on Google at any point in time, you'll be confronted with about a dozen new videos that came out within the last 24 hours. At any time, people are constantly uploading these videos. It's actually mind-blowing the amount of Aora Cannabis videos that come out. Literally anything you say about Aora Cannabis will get you swimming in viewership because so many people are interested in this stock. That's good for us because that means that any sort of news will likely cause larger fluctuations than it would if it didn't have this coverage. For example, shares rose 3% on the partial acquisition of Portugal's Gaia Pharma. Also, when they had their indirect acquisition through their venture capital firm of the California-based cannabis brand, shares also rose. There's also all these other opportunities in terms of anticipation. But the reason that I mention this is because I'm almost certain that we will continue to see acquisitions and partnerships with the brand around the world. And any sign or perception of scaling the company will mean huge jumps in share value. And the reason is because investors know that Aora has more ability than any of their competitors when it comes to scaling. I do think that we'll continue to see this as a huge player for a while, but I also think we'll have some great fluctuations. Heading back to the technicals, the price action has tended to grow in waves. We see a growing momentum of share price over the SMA and then a dip to higher support. Then an increase over the SMA, and it tends to repeat itself over and over again. So the key here is making sure to find a price point near oversold or below value on the RSI, while also keeping an eye out for upward potential to higher highs. Combine this with the knowledge that we'll likely see some acquisition-based spikes, and you've got yourself a good position. So the next stock we're going to be talking about is Cbds. Now Cbds is cannabis sativa, more of a technical play. It's been oversold on the year for quite some time. I really like this stock because it has a history of breaking above the SMA line and continuing to run afterwards, which means if we see it break above the SMA line while also being oversold, then we'd have greater upward potential. We also have this sort of downtrending pattern since the end of September, and a break of pattern could cause a huge pull upwards. So CannTrust is another one that's oversold. There's a lot of upward versus downward potential, and I'd like to see it close this gap between the price action and the SMA. Because it has a history of crossing over and then shortly breaking down, I need to see some upward real estate between the price action and the SMA, while also seeing it be below fair value on the RSI to really justify having a good position with this. It's so important to confirm these signs of an uptrend, because if you don't, your odds of success are just not leveraged enough against your odds of failure. The interesting thing about the fundamentals with CannTrust is that, fundamentally speaking, they sell about around the same amount as their big rivals such as Crone, CGC, STZ, but haven't got any major investments from venture capital firms or any sort of large investments from other firms. That means if we do see an investment or speculation of one, we'd probably see an even bigger reaction than these stocks had when they had their first investments. They also just took a big step in terms of boosting their relevancy by listing on the NYSE, which helps investors get more access to the company. This could prove beneficial as more fundamental news comes out in March. Okay, so the next one is CVSI. CVSI has been back and forth, but has generally converged and stayed around $4 to $5 since the breakdown in September. But we are still near oversold, and I'd be looking for signs of an uptrend this month. CV Sciences will be releasing their fourth quarter and full 2018 year results, so I'd say keep a lookout for some optimism around that time. A lot of times there will be leaks and analyst guidance a few days before, which could easily drive some movement and an overreaction before the actual date of release on the 12th. There's also that upward potential, but since this was sort of the overall marijuana bubble, I'd say that on this one we should take the conservative approach and declare upward potential at around 760-ish. The reason is because we saw this breakdown and then swift recovery, but a lot of stocks in this sector didn't experience this swift recovery, and thus I'd declare upward potential here instead of at the actual price of the bubble popping. Meanwhile, we are near oversold, and downward potential, at least in terms of the last 6 months, is pretty low. The next stock that I want to talk about is CGC. So I didn't include this in the number count because I don't recommend buying it in March 2019. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because everybody freaks out on me and sends comment grenades when I don't include the big marijuana companies such as this one on the list. So I've included this on previous lists, but it's already run so far that I really don't feel comfortable recommending it again. I don't know that we'll see great positions this month. The problem with CGC is that we are nearing long-term resistance at 59.29, so we don't have that much more upward potential relative to downward potential. Now, I know a lot of people like to buy things when they break previous resistance, but that's not the strategy that I employ because it's not a very cautious strategy. A lot of times when it's overextended, it's going to crash. So I don't make a habit of buying overextended stocks. It might work on this one, it might work on 10 of them, but in the long run, it's not going to work. And thus, regardless of the fundamentals, I can't recommend taking a position in this for March 2019 due to the fact that it doesn't fit my trading criteria. However, that doesn't mean it won't continue to run. It just means that I won't take a position just because in the long run, that wouldn't be an effective strategy. Same thing with Crone. If you look at the chart, not much upward potential relative to downward potential. I didn't even recommend this on the last one because I felt that it was heavily overextended. And honestly, I still feel like it's overextended. APHA, I'm sort of lukewarm about. We see this pretty consistent running and recent declaration of support at the SMA, but we still are above fair value, so I'd want to see it dip below fair value, but also show signs of an uptrend, which I'm not sure if we'll see or not this month, and that's why this is one of the stocks that I'm not recommending. That being said, we have to see a perfect setup with this one because of the fact that we have nearly the same amount of upward potential versus downward potential, so I wouldn't be pushed to take a position. Again, it's not good to overtrade. I know that a lot of the stocks that people like to buy aren't going to be good plays this month, and the reason is because they're overextended. Everybody else bought them. In the long run, they might be good plays, but if you're trying to make a profit in the next 6 months or less than 6 month period, if you're trying to make a shorter term profit, it's just not going to be great. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. Of course, stocks could be pushed either way, so it's always important to look for signs of an uptrend, such as the ones I've talked about in my 2 steps of a stock reversal video. If you were confused about how I find these stocks, I'll also put a link in the description below on how to find and trade marijuana stocks. And last but not least, if you have any questions or comments of whatsoever, go ahead and comment below or join our free ZipTrader Circle Facebook group. I'll put the link in the description. Anyways, have a great day, folks, and I'll see you in the next video.